South Africa's biggest explosives and chemicals manufacturer, that's by market value, plans to expand as it seeks to diversify away from slower growth in the home market. Now, AECI is seeking to agree an acquisition in Brazil by the end of this year or early next. And CEO Mark Dieter is here with us. Mark, it's the third pronunciation of your name I've used tonight. I apologize for that. It's Mark Dieter.
Absolutely.
Mark, your revenue is up 13%, but you talk about challenging operating and trading conditions. So how did you manage it if these conditions were tough?
Well, I guess quite simply a lot of hard work, but we really have a strategy in terms of creating value for customers. So we've been focusing on that. We've been moving into Africa quite aggressively and into other emerging markets. So we've been able to benefit also from the rand in terms of the weakness by getting foreign currency in. And probably about 35% of our sales now is out of South Africa. And we've got a big footprint in Africa, so we've been working hard in developing that.
Also a big country that isn't often talked about for South African companies, Indonesia.
Absolutely, we've got a large amount of coal contracts in Indonesia. We're now currently building an ammonium nitrate plant, a relatively small one, but the whole production of that plant is really sold already. And we'll be putting into one of the big coal mines, KPC. And the outlook for Indonesia is, although thermal coal there's a lot of question marks around it, but there's still a lot of production coming out of Indonesia at the moment.
Mark, you've been in the chair now 5 months, I think, as CEO. So this is the first results under your watch, I guess, and a very fine set of numbers they are too. This is part of a long-range strategy. This is not a 6-month wonder. This gradual diversifying out of SA and into other parts of the world. That has two challenges. There's a financial challenge and there's a skills challenge. Would you care to comment on that?
Yeah, and of course the skills is quite high on our agenda right now, because as we're pushing businesses out, we're trying to put the same culture, the business ethic, creating value and actually getting the right skill set for the mines and for water, oil and gas areas and agriculture. So we are developing in-house a whole pipeline of young graduates, people with talent, and we're actually putting them through an AECI academy. And we're using Gibbs a lot to create well-rounded managers that can take our businesses forward. It's been a long strategy. South Africa is still a very important market to us. We generate a lot of cash out of South Africa. Most of our chemical business is focused on our local economy, and it's a very important economy for us. But we have to break out. Africa, we're here, and we have to make the best of that.
Ian?
If you look at the BE transaction, if you look at the true cost, if you had to do it again, you can't. But does it not seem higher than would be justifiable?
No, I think if you really look at, there's a lot of accounting IFRS issues. So if you've got to look at the underlying in terms of cash, really, in the IFRS accounting, you can see, and really why the HEBs are up is relative to last year because of their transaction.
Yes.
But exactly, I think for us there is a benefit for our local businesses, and to be part of the local mining infrastructure or supply chain, you have to be black empowered. Otherwise, you're going to be out of the game.
I wanted to ask you about the mining, because we think of mining, it's been in the news so much, deep level mining, gold, platinum, problems there. Of course, we forget that a lot of South African mines are not deep level, they're open cast or pits, different kinds of issues. You don't have that underground cost issue. So your exposure, it was quite a surprise to see that your explosives division had done so well, because our impression is that our mining industry is not.
Yes, and really what we've been concentrating in the past, AECI was very much concentrated in the deep level underground mines, especially in the gold industry, and of course the challenges in deep level mining we all know, and the pressures on the mining houses, and we've made a concerted effort to keep what we've got there, but to grow in open cast mines. Open cast mines are a lot easier to manage relative to safety and to get explosives to those mines. However, they do take a lot of bulk explosives. You're taking down one hole, you can put 20 to 30 tons of chemical. So it's a nice opportunity to grow our business. And a lot of the African mines are really mostly all open cast, so there's great opportunities.
It's interesting on that point, because you're growing organically, but let's not forget that AECI are successfully bolting on acquisitions. Yes. Perhaps you could let us know, Mark, what you seek for when you acquire, in terms of how it complements what you're doing.
Yeah, I guess we have a couple of strategies around that, and Really around the South African businesses, we really look for mainly a chemical business, but the opportunity to add value. We steer away from the commodity or bulk commodities in a way, and we focused on where people can make a difference at the customer's front point. The other area, if we look at Africa now, there is a different strategy emerging. And of course, we're looking at big sectors like mining chemicals, we're looking at agricultural specialty chemicals, and then water, oil, and gas is top of our agenda. So we are looking at acquisitions in that area. The strategy is always not to overpay, and hopefully that we can add value and return value to shareholders. That's really the strategy.
You just mentioned agriculture, and in your talking about into Africa, it's all about mining. Is there much opportunity on the agricultural side?
Absolutely.
Because
we're seeing a lot, and a lot of governments are actually implementing assistance in getting people to actually put agriculture on their land now. It's a different way that you're going to market to those countries, because there's small packaging and you have to put a basket of different products together for them, which we are unable to do. But we are seeing the opportunities in agriculture, Graham. Malawi, Kenya, even as Nigeria, we're seeing opportunities. So I think really, Africa's it's really been seen as the bread basket.
And it's interesting on that point. You have physical presence on the ground, don't you, Mark? You're putting real money, real assets into these territories.
Yes, we have. We really started with the explosive business. So that pushed us into, that gives you critical mass, because you can actually build a plant on a mine, you can employ 20, 30 to 100 people, you're creating service, manufacturing on site, putting detonators together. So we've created that critical mass, and we've created entities in Africa, because you have to get the licenses in the different countries. So that's quite important. And you have to have registered entities. So on the back of that, we've put a lot of our chemical business, our specialties, to actually also develop behind that. And we've also, by the purchase of the GE water business last year, that's put us a nice footprint in places like Kenya, Tanzania, and Nigeria, where we get a lot out of the oil and gas sector.
Chemicals, explosives, property is a subdivision there. There's another company that comes to mind when I read that your property division, pleasing increase in operating profit to 50 million. Tongaat Hewlett is another company. It produces sugar, but we report a lot on what they're doing with property, which is an accident of history, isn't it? Absolutely. And I think it's because the dynamite factory was built far away from the city, and you bought all the land, 100 years ago?
Yes, then exactly that. And of course, as people have expanded, the buildings are getting a lot closer to us. And so we have a lot of land that is surplus to our needs right now. And Modderfontein is one of the areas, and of course Somerset West is the other. It's non-core for us, however, we need to try and release that land for property developers, and we've been quite successful in doing it.
It's not a core competence, though. So have you had to bring in people who understand property as opposed to blowing things up?
Absolutely. It's very different from land to chemicals. And of course, we have brought in, we do not develop top structures really. So we actually just get land package to sell to developers. So we haven't really taken the full benefit, but we haven't got that skills base. So, and we have put a cautionary announcement out if we, in terms there is an offer on the table relative to a large chunk of that land. And we've always said to our shareholders and investors that, it is non-core. If we get an offer that makes sense to us, we will certainly have a serious look at it.
So you'd rather just literally wash your hands of it than even go ahead on a partnership basis?
Yeah, absolutely. I think for us, we've got a lot of good ideas on the chemical and explosives. And I guess if we could release that land, generate cash for us, we have a lot of good ideas what to do with it.
How much land left? If 50 million is a profit there, that's a nice little profit to add to the others.
There's quite a bit. There's about 2,000 acres left that we have. So it's quite a big piece of land, both in Somerset West and at Modderfontein. And but it would take us, reality, about 15 to 20 years to actually open that up. Because you have to put in services, we put in the roads, we put in the electrical tie-ins and sewer connections. So it would take many years for us to expose that. So